The FBI now has expansive hacking powers. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court approved a change to Rule 41 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. A last-ditch effort yesterday, in fact, to stop these changes died on the Senate floor. The new rule now allows investigators to obtain essentially one warrant to remotely access any computer in virtually any location. Former federal prosecutor Doug Burns is here to explain what exactly these changes will mean for all Americans, I suppose.
Yeah.
Doug, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
First, the changes to Rule 41 exactly are what?
Yeah, let me just lay them out because I just studied them. Rule 41 is the rule that governs getting a search warrant, okay? And it's interesting. I'll use an anecdotal example, maybe make it clearer. They get a search warrant for computer data stating probable cause to a court that the person's done a crime, and there's evidence of that crime on a computer in the Southern District of New York, which is where we're sitting right now. And then the person, they can now obtain computer data in other jurisdictions, but only in two circumstances, and this is very important. Circumstance one, where the person moves the data to another federal district and conceals it, okay? And two, if a perpetrator engages in illegal hacking in 5 districts, if you can show probable cause for all of it, you can obtain a warrant in one district for all 5. But the point is, I want to make it crystal clear that the rhetoric is a little over the top about this is giving the government all kinds of hacking powers. It has nothing to do with that. All they're saying is that if a bad guy, I'll use that term, moves data to another district and hides it from the government, what happened is we get a warrant for a computer in the Southern District. They move it to Connecticut and conceal that. Law enforcement's stuck. Now, under the new rule, they can use technology to find it, but only limited to the probable cause that they stated in the first place. That's the key.
But privacy advocates are up in arms here. To your point, and I suppose, if nothing else, those advocates do play things out to a worst possible scenario. But that scenario, nevertheless, does exist.
No. I'm not going to be harsh, but they're just completely wrong. In other words, what they're saying is that the government is going to have the expanded ability to just go retrieve data from people. That's incredibly reckless. As I said, and let's repeat it, you need probable cause against a particular individual that they've committed a crime, and probable cause that data in connection with that crime is on a particular computer. If that computer, and only that computer, of a person against whom probable cause was stated is moved and concealed, they can get that and nothing else. That's the key, nothing else. And in the 5-district example, the only thing they're doing is saying you don't have to run to 5 courthouses. And let me just back them off on their heels a bit. Sorry. This was a judicial committee made up of lawyers, judges, academicians, and scholars, okay? That's how the rules, the federal rules of criminal procedure, get changed. So they debated it back and forth. I'm not here as Mr. Salesman, rah-rah, how great it is. I'm just telling you that when I was a federal prosecutor, we would get a warrant for a phone, right? And it was called a roving phone. It would just rove into new areas and numbers. So the rules adjusted. It's the same thing here. Now, to be fair, of course, people have concerns. I understand that, but they've got to understand what this rule is before they start coming in with all kinds of rhetoric.
Several senators, we mentioned, in the last-ditch effort, dies on the Senate floor yesterday. Ron Wyden of Oregon, one of them, called it one of the biggest mistakes in surveillance policy in years.
Is he a lawyer? I don't know. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at that closely, because the point is pontifications, political rhetoric and criminal law sometimes don't mix.
But need you be a lawyer to look at this? And again, let's show Edward Snowden, not a lawyer by trade as well. He also weighed in. If we can see his tweets, and here they are. Edward Snowden seems to agree with Senator Wyden here. The DOJ's claims are dishonest. Rule 41 substantively changes the limits on the government's powers. The FBI's hacking was just legalized. Went on to tweet, in fact, without a debate or any new law, the rights of every American, basic privacy of people around the world have been narrowed.
It's an unbelievably reckless and inaccurate statement, essentially.
Reckless and inaccurate are not mutually inclusive
It's completely reckless because, again, this change allows the government to follow computer data from one district to another when they've stated probable cause that a crime's been committed, and the moving is directly related to that. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the government hacking anybody. Now, you want to have all the political discussions about the Bush administration and NSA. I understand that, and that's why, by the way, in my opinion, you have all these, so-called concerns. But again, I'm a lawyer. I've been doing this 31 years. I was a federal prosecutor 9 years. I can't sit here and look at a headline in a paper that I won't mention. Hold on, this morning that says, government hacking powers vastly expanded in a headline. That's shocking.
Okay,
it's just not accurate. Yeah.
But we're also in a climate where the now president-elect, during the campaign, invited Russia to hack into the emails of his political rival. He would later dismiss it as a joke, but his words mattered then. But they certainly matter more now.
That's a brilliant segue. No. And Josh, you're so right, because that's why you get these strained headlines and these strained reports, is because everybody are concerned in an unrelated political discussion. Okay, legally, if you look at Rule 41, and you look at the fact, again, that judges, academicians, scholars, and lawyers came up with this change and it was approved, that's a far, far, far cry from some kind of political discussion. But you're so right, and that's exactly why people throw these headlines around. It's really, it's a little troubling, honestly. Again, to just, I see headlines, using the term hacking. Hacking's a negative term. I mean, they're saying the government's hacking powers, so they're essentially saying the government's violating the law. Now, they may in some instances.
But it's also the government's powers of surveillance, which by definition, if successful, go unnoticed. They are unknown.
This only has to do with a particular search warrant in a particular case, though. You follow me?
I do, and I think, though, that privacy advocates who also follow you also say that's all well and good in a vacuum. But if the power is there to make nefarious use of expanded capabilities.
Well, where do you get nefarious? In other words, again, you have a search warrant against somebody, and you said an informant told us that they have evidence of child abduction on their computer, and you establish probable cause. This rule only says if they move that computer data to a computer in Connecticut and conceal it, that's the key, because if they don't conceal it, you have to go get a warrant in Connecticut, then you can follow it. I'd be happy to debate this with anybody who, seriously wants to start making arguments, but they're glossing over a lot of it by making sort of a quantum leap into, this expands and, threatens our privacy. It has nothing to do with that. It's only in a criminal case.
But just so I'm clear, and to get you out of here,
in a criminal case.
Again, though, you do acknowledge, if nothing else, that the current climate as it regards hacking and the way the invitation has been thrown around by the president.
No. I'd love to.
Do you think that inflames?
I'd love to sum up on your point. As we lawyers say, there is absolutely no question whatsoever that because of the climate we're in, matters like the Snowden matter, matters like Russian hacking and the possible effect on the U.S. election, and yes, President-elect Trump inviting the Russians to hack, that's what creates a story like this. And I'm just here to give you the legal part of it, which is it's really quite different.
And we appreciate you being here doing that. Doug Burns, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.